The last one was so long.
You've got a tail.
Well, you can get one this.
Sir?
You want to hold the tour for Nidre?
Oh, that'd be very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Danny, do you need that table where it is? Okay, let me
I
just
do
move it
not.
out. I don't want it.
I don't know if anybody else does either. Hey. Richard? 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 Gary, could you tap Richard on the shoulder and tell him it's time for Mincha? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to begin the Mincha service. Page 431 in your Machzor. Page 431.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Odi Hallelujah, Selah.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha,
Ashrei Kakalo,
Hallelujah,
Ashrei Am Shon Elohim,
Ashrei Am
David, Aronach.
Tehillat Adonai Edaber Pi, Vivarech Kol Basar Shem Kol Olam Voed, V'anachnu Nevorech Yah, Me'ata V'ad Olam. Hallelujah.
Chatzi Kaddish, please rise.
Yitgadal v'yitgadal Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamadivrach Yerutei v'yamlech Malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael. B'galav v'zman kari v'imru. Amen.
Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah mevarach li'olam olamei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yiraman v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal Shemei dekudashah. La'ela, la'ela mikol birchata, v'shirata, tushbachata, v'nechemata, damiram b'yamav v'imru.
Amen. Silent Amida, beginning page 433 through 441. Reader's repetition of the Amida, page 433.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Ha'el HaGadol HaGibur v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Kohanei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel Ifnei V'nehem Laman Shemo B'Yahava
Zochreinu l'chaim
Zochreinu
l'chavetz.
l'chaim Melech HaFes b'chaim V'chadveinu b'Sefer HaChaim Laman Chash Elohim Chaim Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Mogen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Machayei Metim Atah Rav L'Hoshia Machalkel Chaim B'Chesed Machayei Metim B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekayem U'Nato L'Shenei Afar Mi Chamocha Ba'al Gevurot Midom Elach Melech Meimid U'Mchayei U'Matzmiach Yeshua
Mi chamocha v'rachamim zocher yitzurav l'chayim
Chamocha
b'rachamim.
v'rachamim zocher yitzurav l'chayim b'rachamim v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim Nekadesh Shemcha ba'olam Koshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom Kakatuv v'yad nevi'echa v'kara zeh el zeh v'yamar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavah Malach Haaretz Kavodo, Le'omatam Baruch Yomeru. Baruch Kavod Adonai Mim Komo, Ivdivrei Koshecha Katuv Le'mor. Yamloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Tzion Lador Vador, Hallelujah. Lador Vador Nagid, Gadlach Ala Netzach Netzachim Kedushat Kanakdish, V'shivkach Eloheinu Milpinu Lo Yamush Le'olam Va'ed, Ki El Melech Gadol V'Kadosh Atah, Baruch Atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh.
Amen. You may be seated. 435.
Atah konen le'adam da'ad u'mlamed le'nosh bina chanenu me'echa deya bina v'haskel Baruch atah Adonai konen hada'ad hashivenu avinu l'toratecha v'karvenu malkenu la'avodatecha v'hachazirenu b'tshuva shalema lefanecha Baruch atah Adonai harotze b'tshuva salach lanu avinu ki chatanu machalanu malkenu ki pashanu ki mochel v'soleach atah Baruch atah Adonai chanuna mer balis loa Riena v'yanyenu riva rivenu galenu mehira laman shemecha ki goel chazak atah Baruch atah Adonai goel Yisrael Rafeinu Adonai v'nerafeh hoshienu v'nivasheha ki tehilatenu atah v'haleh refuah shlema l'chom akotenu ki el melech roveh ne'eman v'rochaman atah Baruch atah Adonai cholei amo Yisrael rofeh cholei amo Yisrael Baruch aleinu Adonai Eloheinu et hashana hazot v'yakol minei tevuatah l'tova v'tein bracha al panei hadama v'savenu mituva uvarek shanatenu kashanim hatovot Baruch atah Adonai Mevarech hashanim tekaber shofar gadol l'cherutenu v'zanes l'kabes galuyotenu v'kabesenu yachad me'arba kanfot haaretz Baruch atah Adonai mikabetz nidre amo Yisrael hashiva shaftenu kavari shana v'yosenu kavatchila v'haser mimenu yagon v'yanacha u'maloch aleinu atah Adonai levarcha b'chesed v'rachamim v'tzadkenu b'mishpat Baruch atah Adonai hamelech hamishpat v'lamo shinin al tehi tikva v'chol harisha karega toved v'chol oivecha mehira yikaretu v'hazedim mehira tiakir ut shaber ut magir v'tachniach b'meira b'yameinu Baruch atah Adonai shover ovim u'machnia zedim al hatzadikim v'al hachasidim v'al ziknei avcha beit Yisrael v'al peleta sofreihem v'al gerei hatzedek v'aleinu yehemun arachamecha Adonai Eloheinu V'tein sachar tov l'chol habochim b'shimcha be'emed, v'simcha kenu imahem, ulolam lo nevosh kivacha b'atachnu, Baruch ata Adonai, mishanu miftach l'tzadikim, v'lirushalayim mircha b'rachamim tashuv, tishkon b'tocha kasher dibarta, Uvene ota b'karov yameinu binyan olam v'chisei David mehira l'tocha tachin. Baruch ata Adonai, bonei Yerushalayim. Et semach David amlecha mehira tasmiyam. V'karno tarum b'shuatecha. Ki l'shuatcha kivinu kol hayom. Baruch ata Adonai, matzmiya keren Yeshua. Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu. Chusvrachem aleinu v'kabel barachaminu b'ratzon et tefilatenu, ki el shomea tefilat v'tachanum ata, umilvanecha malkeinu rekam al teshivenu, ki ata shomea tefilat amcha Yisrael barachamim, Baruch ata Adonai, shomea tefilah, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael v'tfilatam, v'hashev ad avodah l'dvir beitecha, u'tfilatam b'yahavata tekabel b'ratzon, u'thila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, v'techazena anenu b'shuvcha l'tzion b'rachamim, Baruch ata Adonai, hamachazir shekinato l'tzion, modi anachnu lo. Hatov kilo chalu racham mecha v'hamrachem kilo tamu chasadecha me'olam kivinu lach v'al kulam yitbarach v'yitromam shemcha malkeinu tamid li'olam va'ed v'chatov chayim tovim kol b'nei v'ritecha v'chol hachayim yoducha sela v'halalu et shemcha be'emed haya Yeshuatenu v'ezratenu sela Baruch ata Adonai, hatov shimcha ulachana el hador.
Amen. 438.
Shalom Yisrael amcha v'al kol yeshvei tevel tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon l'chol hashalom. V'tov b'yanecha lavarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et uv'chol sha'a b'shlomecha.
Sefer Chaim
Sefer Chaim b'racha v'shalom u'parnasa tova. Nizacher v'nichatav v'nichatev levanecha Adonai anachnu v'chol amcha beit Yisrael l'chaim tovim u'l'shalom Baruch ata Adonai oseh shalom.
Amen. Kaddish Shalem 441.
Yitkadav yikadav shemei rabba
Amen.
b'yamachurutei v'yamlach machutei b'chaye echona v'yamachona v'chaye d'chol bet Yisrael b'agalav yizman kariv imru Amen. Yehi shmei rabba m'vorach v'lamo me'omaya yitbalak v'yishtabak v'yitbar v'romam v'yinaseh v'yadar v'yadalev v'yadalal shemei d'kudashah b'rechu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechemata damiram yamav imru Amen.
Amen.
Tidgabal salad hanavat hanachol Yisrael kadamu v'hondav yishmaya v'imru Amen. Yeheshlam rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru
Amen. Aleinu 442.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol Late Lal Yotzer Bereshit Shelo Asanu Koye Haratzon V'lo Samanu Kamishbachot Hadama Shelo Samcho Kenu Kahem V'gor Aleinu Kachol Hamonam V'anachnu Korim Umishtachavim Umodim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehunot HaShamayim Okay, Nikvalach Adonai Eloheinu Rot Mehera V'Tifer Hu Zechale Avir Gilalim Min Ha'aretz Elelim Karot Yikaretu וכל בני כי לך תכרך בארץ תשבע כל לשון ולפניך אדוני אלוהינו יקראו ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד נאמר
V'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Mourner's Kaddish, page 443. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma difra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. Chaye chon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. V'agala uv'izman kariv yimru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach. Yilam elamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach. V'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha b'rechu. Li'ela, mikol, birchata, v'shirata, tush b'chata, v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Yasher Koach to Richard Cameraman for leading us in the Mincha service. The hour of Kol Nidre is upon us. We turn to page 204 and rise as the ark is open.
Vishiva shel mahalam, uvishiva shel matam, al dat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahal, anu matirim lehitpalel, im havayanim. Vishiva shel mahalam, uvishiva shel matam, al dat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahal, anu matirim lehitpalel, im havayanim. Vishiva shel mahala, o vishiva shel matam, al dat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahal, anu matirim lehitpalel, im havayanim. Kol nidre, v'sarei, v'charamei, v'konamei, v'chinuyei, v'kinusei, u'shvuot, tindarna, u'dishtabana, u'diacharimna, ודעשנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו הבא עלינו לטובה כל הון יחרתנה והון כל הון יהון שרן שוויקין שוויתין בטלים ומבוטלים לא שרירים ולא קיימים נדרנה לא נדרה ויעשנה לא עשרה ושבועתנה לא שבועות כל נדרה ועשרה וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבועות דין דרנה ורישתבנה עוד יחרים נא ודעשנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו הבא עלינו לטובה כל הון יחרתנה והון כל הון יהון שרן שוויקין שוויתין בטלים ומבוטלים לא שרירים ולא קיימים נדרנה לא נדרה ועשרנה לא עשרה או שבועתנה לא שבועות כל נדרה ועשרה וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבועות דין דרנה ורישתבנה עוד יחרים נא ודעשנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו Vatova Kol Hon Icharadna Vehon Kol Hon Yahon Sharon Shavikin Shavikin Betelin Vutalin La Sharirin Velo Kayamin Nidrana La Nidre V'yesarana Lo Esare O Shavuatana La Shavuot V'nislach L'chol hadat b'nei Yisrael V'lager hagah b'tocham Ki l'chol ha'am Bishkagam
Yisrach lechol Rebbe Yisrael v'ger agar b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishkagam.
V'nislach L'chol hadat b'nei Yisrael V'lager hagah b'tocham Ki l'chol ha'am Bishkagam
Yisrach lechol Rebbe Yisrael v'ger agar b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishkagam.
V'nislach L'chol hadat b'nei Yisrael V'lager hagah b'tocham Ki l'chol ha'am Bishkagam
Yisrach lechol Rebbe Yisrael v'ger agar b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishkagam.
Salachna Lavarham Hazek Agorach Hatzdecha V'chasher Nasat Lam Hazemi B'Yisrael V'yadheina V'sham Ne'emar
Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha.
Vayomer Adonai Salachti Kidvarecha
Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha.
Vayomer Adonai Salachti Kidvarecha
Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha.
Vayomer Adonai Salachti Kidvarecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh
Amen.
Leave the doors, because we got a number of ark open.
You may be seated.
Are you now new president? You're speaking now? You going to speak now?
No. The Mariv service begins on page 207. Please rise for Baruch Hu.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
May be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, Tami miloch alenu olam v'oed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'haravi, Ahavat olam be'Yisrael machavta. Ki hem chayeinu v'yorach yameinu v'hem nehegeh yomam v'layla v'avatcha al tashim imenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shivtecha b'techa, leftecha v'shachtecha. Adonai Elohechem Emed, v'nebrakel Zomra.
Bottom of 209.
Umalchutav, Ratzon kiblu alehem, Moshe v'nei Yisrael, L'cha ani shira b'simcha rabba, v'yamru cholam. Mi chamocha balim Adonai, mi chamocha nirda b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele. Malchutcha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, zeili anu v'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov uki Allah b'yad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael Hashkivenu Adonai. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom, aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Rise, the second paragraph, page 212. Kiva yom hazeh yechaper alechem l'taher etchem mikol chatotechem lifnei Adonai titaru.
כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם, לפני אדוני תטהרו, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, מעולם עד יברח ידיתי, וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yesh merabah mavarach le'olam olam.
יהי שמרו מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקדושה ברכו לעילא לעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Silent Amida, pages 213 through 221. If it was difficult to be the leader of a synagogue after Hurricane Harvey, it must be exceedingly difficult to be the president of Beth Yeshurun during a pandemic. I know that our president and his officers have put in a tremendous amount of overtime to deal with the many issues that we have had at Beth Yeshurun over the past 7 months. It's not been easy. It's probably not what you signed up for. It's not what any of us were hoping for. But Jared, I want to thank you and all of your officers for the labor, the incredible amount of extra effort that you have had to give during these months to deal with all the decisions involved with keeping Beth Yeshurun going and keeping it safe for all of us. Early on in the pandemic, it was much more difficult to know exactly what to do and what not to do. We didn't know. There was a lot of conflicting information. And it's our officers who were charged with ultimately making the decisions that had to be made, difficult though they were. And I'm very grateful to you for staying the course, for doing what you did, and for continuing to give your best efforts to our congregation. It's my pleasure to call upon the president of Congregation Beth Yeshurun, Mr. Jared Bloom.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. I didn't know I had an option not to stay the course. On behalf of the board, the staff, and the clergy, I'd like to welcome everyone to Beth Yeshurun's first, and hopefully last, all-virtual Yom Kippur. Although I'm not sure how virtual we are right now, because last I heard, I believe our website's down. But it would be dishonest of me if I did not admit that I am saddened by the circumstances of this evening. This is the last time when I will have the opportunity and the honor to address my community as president on the high holidays. And the pews are empty, the halls are quiet, generations of families are not here together in our space, we are not welcoming and embracing congregants, and we will not parade the Torah around the sanctuary for all to approach and honor. Normally there would be a full building, humming with life and excitement, full of friends and family, but tonight's different. When I became president, I made a conscious decision that when I had the privilege of addressing our community, I was neither going to focus on nor reference Hurricane Harvey. The rabbis had addressed Hurricane Harvey from numerous perspectives, and with the emotions of such an event still raw, I did not think there was any reason to be duplicative. Other than discussing the reopening of the Barg Sanctuary after Hurricane Harvey, I largely have stuck to my conviction. But tonight is different. My first address after opening the Barg focused on community and community building, both within the shul and the greater communities without. I am proud of the work the synagogue, the clergy, the social action committee, and our congregants have done in answering the call. Last year, I addressed the community about Beth Yeshurun's history and legacy, announcing that Beth Yeshurun had been declared a historical landmark in the creation of the Legacy Foundation. The response to this initiative has been overwhelming. I had planned on addressing the community tonight about my proudest moments as president and the Jewish lessons I learned as president, such as humility, patience, courage, compassion, and chesed. But tonight is different. On August 26, 2017, Hurricane Harvey's wrath flowed into our building, but you know that. The devastation and disruption it caused is also well known. But heroes arose. While the wrath of Hurricane Harvey was in full effect, congregants took it upon themselves to brave the flooded building to get our Torah scrolls to safe ground. As the executive committee and the staff scrambled to make plans for the high holidays, through the assistance of a congregant, we were able to secure Lakewood Church for a meaningful and much-needed coming together for the high holidays. There was also a school and offices that needed to be repaired, as well as B'nai Mitzvah and other life cycle events that needed to occur. Then President Arlene Staller and Executive Director Lou Dorfman worked tirelessly to assist and coordinate the reconstruction and resume operations. You, our community, stepped up in heroic fashion, from volunteering at the school and the shul, helping clean up this community and people's homes, providing office space, apartments, and vehicles to those affected in our community, and contributing to an astronomical fundraising campaign which allowed us to rebuild and get back to normal with relative speed. But tonight is different. I'm sure every president has their day that will live in infamy. Sitting in my office on March 11th, 2020, an assistant announced, they're closing the rodeo. There was some buzz around the office, some talk about school and spring break, which was the next week, and other than the fact that my daughter was getting ready to leave for a trip to Germany and Austria, which did not happen, I started thinking about the B'nai Mitzvah we had planned for the upcoming weeks. I met with Rabbi Strauss and then with Andy Berger, and then the executive committee, and thus began the daily and weekly conversations, checking numbers, talking to healthcare professionals, monitoring statements and advisories from the CDC and local government authorities, hearing from congregants, going virtual only, slowly reopening, figuring out how we would have minyanim, and discussing how we were going to handle the high holidays, the whole time assuming that we would certainly be back to normal by now. But tonight is different. I do take comfort in the fact that through all of what has been thrown our way, we have continued to call the children of our community to the Bima to become B'nai Mitzvah. We have performed baby namings and brisses. We have engaged congregants with online programming. We have held services Friday night and Saturday mornings and brought back a daily minyan as quickly as was safe to do so. And although I am not looking out upon a sea of congregants and our building is relatively empty tonight, the sanctuaries are still filled with the sounds of our tradition, and we are still able to connect with each other spiritually on these high holidays. But make no mistake about it, tonight is different. This situation is different than we have ever been faced with before, and the reaction and response needs to be different. During Harvey, heroes arose. So in this different dilemma, who is going to be our COVID-19 heroes? It will take a different type of hero to answer this call. You see, with Harvey, all of our heroes were about getting back to normal, resuming what we had been doing, bringing our community back together. But while there will be a time, hopefully in the near future, where we will be getting back to normal, resuming what we had been doing, bringing our community back together, what that will look like and how it will be accomplished will be different. What have we learned during this pandemic about connecting with our congregants, about what our congregants are actually seeking, and about how we can better provide it? How does what we have learned influence our business model, from staffing to technology to dues models and membership? Our COVID-19 hero will make this disaster an opportunity based on what we have learned to effect change that maybe we are not ready to make, but that needs to be made. An opportunity to shape the future of Beth Shuren for future success and sustainability. In a few months, I will no longer be president. I will leave the community in the very able hands of David Stein. But I think I have yet to earn the title of a COVID-19 hero. I know our clergy and staff have. I also know that leadership that came before me and had the foresight to put cameras in the sanctuaries and to live stream our services are COVID-19 heroes. Also, Nancy and Arthur Brand and Gilda and Warren Sprungen family are true COVID-19 heroes who graciously give in memory of their parents Ai and Manette Sheps and Alan Brand. Heroes not only for the generosity they have shown in underwriting much of the technology which allows us to stream our services, but also for sponsoring the production of the high holidays. Philip Langley is a COVID hero, producing multiple services, handling our video and audio production, and which has been our lifeline in connecting spiritually with our community. I want my chance to be a COVID-19 hero. Therefore, I have informed President Stein, and he approved that I will be chairing a strategic planning committee to develop a long-term plan for the future success and sustainability of Beth Shuren. But here's the catch. I need you to join me in being a COVID-19 hero. My success, Beth Shuren's success, is dependent on you. In order to prepare a strategic plan, we will need to know what you want. We will need to have your input and imagination, your ideas and experiences, your wants and desires. We will need you. During the process, there will be opportunities for different focus groups to be formed so that we can obtain input from as many in the community as possible. I understand there are time constraints and other obligations that need to be tended to, and I'm sure you've had many reasons and justifications for not having been involved with the shul in the past. but tonight is different. So please join us in pioneering the future path of Congregation Beth Shuren. One thing that is not different about tonight is that I have numerous people to thank for their support, advice, and incredible hard work and time put into making these different high holidays as special and meaningful as possible. Thank you to the Special High Holiday Committee and Medical Committee formed to advise us to these different high holidays, which was chaired by Arthur Nathan. Once it became evident that actions and monitoring was necessary, my executive committee committed to meeting once a week and sometimes more often for the past 6 months to determine on a weekly and sometimes daily basis how are we going to continue operations and services through this ever-evolving situation. Thank you to the executive committee for your commitment and work on behalf of the congregation. Likewise, thank you to the board and past presidents who dedicated their time and efforts to handling the situation and focusing on the future well-being of the shul through this different situation. This has been a spring and summer like no other for our clergy, culminating in high holidays for which no clergy is trained. For the past 6 months, the clergy has been inventing, reinventing, and improvising on a weekly and daily basis, all that we provide at Beth Shuren, including completely revamping the high holiday experience while furthering our missions and serving our congregants and community. We are truly blessed to have the dedicated, creative, and talented team of Rabbi Morgan, Rabbi Fort, Rabbi Horowitz, Rabbi Emeritus Siegel, and Rosen, all led by Senior Rabbi Brian Strauss and Cantor Mayor Finkelstein. Similarly, thank you to our staff who has worked tirelessly during this past 6 months to keep everything going. Thank you to Executive Director Andy Berger, Ashley Mills, Jennifer Rosenzweig, Mindy Stern, and Jennifer Sutton, and as well as all of our incredible staff here at Beth Shuren. A special thank you to Cheryl Eskowitz and Jennifer Levine for all their hard work and dedication to continuing the education for our children and young adults. And to our B'nai Mitzvah Coordinator, Sarah Kaiser, and B'nai Mitzvah Committee Chair, Susan Sandler, for working hand in hand with our B'nai Mitzvah families in scheduling, rescheduling, and coordinating these families' different special events. To my family, Sarah, Amanda, and Rebecca, thank you for the support and understanding that has allowed me to devote the time necessary to Beth Shuren. You see, I'm not just president, I also have a job and am a husband and a father. My daughters, Amanda and Rebecca, are entering their senior and sophomore years at the High School for Performing and Visual Arts. They've had trips, programs, and events canceled. As they've been going through this ordeal, I've had to focus on Beth Shuren and B'nai Mitzvahs and daily minions and religious school and the high holidays and my law practice. Sarah, who has a law practice of her own, has done an amazing job of keeping it all together and filling in where I've been lacking. I'm sorry if I've not been able to be there for you, and thank you for your support and understanding. I love you. Finally, during this time of forgiveness, I come before you, my congregation, to ask for your understanding, as I don't believe I can ask for true Shuvah, as I cannot say that I would not act the same given the same circumstances. I ask for your understanding in dealing with this pandemic. I never wanted to be the president who shut the synagogue down. I never wanted to be the president who told people who wanted to pray that they could not attend. I never wanted to be the president who, for the first time in our storied history, did not have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services in a physical location for our congregants to attend. However, I am that president. If any of these actions have offended or hurt you, I apologize and ask for your understanding. Everything that has been done, or may need to be done, is done with much consternation and for what is believed to be in the best interest of Beth Shuren and its congregants. So let's embrace this different time, work hard, and rise to the challenge. And I hope this Yom Kippur, while different, is spiritual and meaningful for you and your families, and may you be inscribed in the Book of Life.
Thank you, Jared. Yasher Koach. The message that I want to share with you tonight is one you can read more about if you want to. The well-known writer Bruce Feiler just came out with a book called Life is in the Transitions, Mastering Change at Any Age. He collected all sorts of stories of people who had been through major life changes, people who lost their jobs or lost a loved one, people who got sober, people who had changed careers. And one chapter deals with a man who became a rabbi in his 40s. As a kid, Larry Moldo was a math whiz. His second grade teacher told him, "Do me a favor, don't learn any more math until your class catches up." Larry said 6 years later, they caught up. But by that time, I had moved on to history. He always loved Judaism, so after college, he worked as an educational director at a shul in Peoria, and then as ritual director at a shul in Omaha, and that turned out not to be a terrific job, and so after he got married, he went to work at his father-in-law's pawn shop. He decided that it was okay to sell things that he didn't use, guns, jewelry. However, pawnbroking can also be a dangerous profession. At one point, Larry was held up at gunpoint. He decided he didn't like this job very much either. And someone suggested that he apply to rabbinical school. He was a very committed and knowledgeable Jew, and he could certainly pick up anything he didn't already know. Around this time, he and his wife were trying to conceive a child. She did become pregnant, but the baby stopped developing at 6 months. It turned out that his wife's history had a multi-generational history. The family had a history of high-risk first pregnancies. He found that conservative Judaism had not yet developed a ritual to help families cope after a stillbirth. Eventually, he created such a ritual and wrote his rabbinic thesis on the topic. One thing he learned was that if you don't have a way to express grief, it bottles up inside you and disables you. He had felt that Judaism has a very good approach to grief, but he knew that his situation was an exception. He and his wife lit a candle on the anniversary of the stillbirth, and when they eventually adopted a son, they shared memories of his unmet sibling. Larry said, and here I want to quote him directly from Filer's book, "Even if you don't mark what happened to you, the body does it for you. There will be times when you feel miserable and you have no idea why. But 15 years earlier, the event was happening, and your body remembers year after year. The purpose of mourning is to get these feelings out into the open, even sharing them with the community, because if you don't, they'll just bite you later on." And I also have observed this in many families, that even when people don't consciously remember what bothers them, it still pops up and it affects them in season. A few years after ordination, Larry became the rabbi of Mount Sinai Congregation in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Now, I'm not sure, but I think that might be one congregation where being a licensed gun dealer might actually be a good thing to have on your resume. He became a leader in the Community Ministerial Association, and like many rabbis, he enjoyed being in a smaller community, a smaller congregation. Fewer people to learn about, but you get to know them well, and you get to serve them better. And you have more opportunities to make a difference in their lives. That's what he did. He didn't need to become a big name in the rabbinate, but he did make the transition successfully. So many of us are afraid of much easier changes. Life is full of things that disrupt our course, and of course the pandemic is one of them. But for most of us, when the pandemic ends, soon we pray, we will resume the lives we had before it started. So the question for us is, what are the things we ought to change in our lives, now or then? Bruce Filer says that life itself brings changes to us. Many people go through what he calls life quakes, a massive change that leads to a life transition. And you or someone you know is in such a transition. But Judaism reminds us about other transitions which don't require a life quake. Repairing a relationship, repairing a flaw in our character, doing a kindness for someone that we know we should do. If we take seriously the confessions we recite tonight and tomorrow and make changes where we should, we will come out the other side for the better. And there's one other thing about transitions which I learned from Rabbi Brad Artson, the head of our conservative rabbinical school in Los Angeles. Many of you have seen him here. He teaches a course on the history of Jewish philosophy, and he says, one of the first things I tell students is that nobody ever knows the name of the period of time they're actually living through until someone decides that period is over. You know, there was, in a time when there was no Bible, no one knew that they were living in the biblical period. No one woke up in the late Roman Empire and said to their spouse, honey, you know, I was feeling late antiquity last night, but I'm definitely feeling early medieval this morning. It's a difficult thing to mark transitions before they happen. But you can. You can say, I'm going to change. I'm going to be a better Jew. I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm going to practice kindness to those around me. I'm going to give more tzedakah. You know, when you join a gym, they don't tell you to get in shape and then join. They say, join and we will get you in shape. And you don't have to be Moses to become a better Jew. You don't have to leave the land where you were born and become a shepherd and then go back and negotiate with the Pharaoh and bring about plagues. All you have to do is work on yourself where you are. Now, if you want to help build a better community, Beth Yeshurun has a new project where you can make a difference. We're creating this long-term relationship with Reynolds Elementary School in Sunnyside. Some of you probably read in the Chronicle last week that Sunnyside is one of the most depressed neighborhoods in our city. Read a great line from a Canadian health official, Dr. Bonnie Henry. She said, we are all in the storm, but we are not all in the same boats. So if you want to give children in Sunnyside a better boat, we will be offering you many ways to do that. You can contribute school supplies. As the pandemic eases and the school year continues, there will be opportunities for all of us to help, to support teachers meeting their many challenges, to build relationships that can have a lasting effect for underprivileged youngsters. How great it would be for Beth Yeshurun to show our Jewish community the way to help build successful transitions in the broader community. Now, there are two more things about Larry Moldo's story that I haven't yet shared with you. The first is that Larry and his family were members of the synagogue where I served as rabbi in Kansas City. He would occasionally fill in for me as Torah reader. He was a great Megillah reader, by the way. Definitely livened up our Purim celebration. And when he initially applied to rabbinical school, to my great surprise, he was accepted only on probation. I think that may have been because he was very reserved. He didn't seem like a people person. And in some ways he wasn't. By nature, he was happiest with books. But whatever he needed in order to succeed as a rabbi, he learned. And the other thing I didn't tell you is that you can make all the right moves and do the changes you should make and still not be rewarded in the way you should be. Because my friend, Rabbi Larry Moldo, died 5 weeks ago. He had cancer, and then some complications, and then a stroke. And a few weeks later, it was over. Who shall live and who shall die, right? I wish that he had enjoyed many more productive and meaningful years. He certainly deserved them. So did his wife and son. Life isn't like that. There are no guarantees. But Larry knew that. He knew that the prescription we offer on these holy days, tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, repentance, prayer, giving, doesn't ensure us another year of life, doesn't ensure us even a single blessing. But the prayer says that this prescription does only this: ma'avirin et roa hagezera. It averts the bitterness of the decree. It transforms the harshness of our destiny. It gives us a context for a good life that is more than all the unjust things that happen to us. It's a better way to live, even if, in the end, you don't live. I'm pretty sure that even if Larry would have known that he would die so young, he would still have chosen his life quake, his transition. Length of days he wasn't granted, but a life of meaning that made a difference for so many people that he served, that he did have. On this Yom Kippur, in the time of pandemic and so much more that is chaotic, I wish each of you good health in the year ahead. May your transitions be small and manageable, but whatever they are, even if they are life quakes, may you face them with courage and so write a good year in your own book of life. Amen. Page 223, we rise as the ark is opened. Ya'aleh.
Ya'aleh tachanunenu me'erev ve'yavo shavatenu miboker ve'yerah rinunenu adare ve'yerah rinunenu adare Ya'aleh kolenu me'erev ve'yavo sidkatenu miboker ve'yerah pidyoneinu ad arev ve'yerah pidyoneinu ad arev Ya'aleh inu yeinu me'erev ve'yavo salichateinu miboker ve'yerah nakateinu ad arev ve'yerah nakateinu ad arev Ya'aleh menuseinu me'erev ve'yavo lemano miboker ve'yerah kippureinu ad arev ve'yerah kippureinu ad arev Ya'aleh yisheinu me'erev ve'yavo taho chinunenu ad arev v'yeroe chinunenu ad arev. Ya'ala zichronenu me'erev v'yavo v'yudenu miboker v'ye'ara'ev hadratenu ad arev v'ye'ra'e hadratenu ad arev. Ya'ala dovkeinu me'erev v'yavo gileinu miboker v'yeroe bakashateinu ad arev v'yeroe bakashateinu ad arev. Ya'ala enkatenu me'erev v'yavo eilecha miboker v'yeroe eileinu ad arev v'yeroe eileinu ad arev. Go ahead and close the ark. Close the ark.
You may be seated as the ark is closed. Page 225.
Haneshama halach v'haguf hawalach chosa halam alach Haneshama halach v'haguf shalach Adonai Aseh Laman Shemecha Atanu al Shimcha Adonai Aseh Laman Shemecha Ba'avur Kevod Shimcha Ki Alchanim Barachum Shemecha Laman Shimcha Adonai V'salach Lavonenu Ki Ravchom Darkecha Eloheinu le'arich apecha La'ra'im v'la'tovim v'hitilatecha Lamancha Eloheinu aseh v'lo Re'am irateinu dalim v'rekim Tale arucha le'alei nidav Tilachem alafar v'efer Tashe chata'enu v'tachon v'masecha Tereki'eni ish Aseh l'man tzedakah El erech apayim ata uval rachamim nikreita v'derech tishvad v'rodam. Tavor al pesha v'titkei Hashem, k'yom v'yatzeh v'imosham, tazin shavatenu, v'takshi menu mamar k'yom, v'yikra b'shem Adonai.
Vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra.
Vayavor Adonai panav v'yikra, Adonai, Adonai, el rachom v'chanun, erech apayim, B'rav chesed v'yemet, notzer chesed v'alafi, nosei avon v'afesha, v'chata v'nakei. V'solachta l'avonenu chatatenu, u'nechaltanu. Solach l'avonenu kichatanu, v'cholanu makinu kipashanu, ki atarnai tov v'solach, b'rav chesed l'chor korecha.
Rise as the ark is open, page 227.
Ki hine kach omer beyad hayotzer, birtzoto marchiv, uvirtzoto mikatzer. Kein anachnu beyadcha, chesed notzer. Laberita beit, V'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei ka'even beyad hamesatet, birzoto oches, uvirzoto mechatet. Kein anachnu beyadcha, b'chayei u'memotet. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei kagarzen beyad hecharash, birtzoto dibek lahor, uvirtzoto perash. Ken anachnu beyadcha, tomech ani varash. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei kahege beyad hamalach, birtzoto oches, uvirtzoto shilach. Ken anachnu beyadcha, al tov v'salach. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei kazchuchit beyad hamizageg, birtzoto chogeg, uvirtzoto memogeg. Ken anachnu beyadcha, mochel zadon v'shegeg. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei kairia beyad harokem, birtzoto miyasher, uvirtzoto me'akem. Ken anachnu beyadcha, elkano v'nokem. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Ki hinei kakesef beyad hatzorev, birtzoto mitzachzeg, uvirtzoto mitzarev. Ken anachnu beyadcha, mamsi lemazor terev. Laberita beit, v'al teifen la yetzer. Close the ark.
May be seated, page 229. El Melech Yosef,
El melech Yosef al kisei rachamim mitnacheg b'chasidu mochel b'chol. El horei talanu l'mosh l'shesrei zechor lanu hayam brish l'shesrei kemo shratala anabi kedem kemo shekatuv vayer anabi yasevi mohosham vayikra v'shem Adonai
Vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra.
vayavor Adonai panav vayikra Adonai Adonai erachom v'chanun Erech apayim, v'rav chesed v'yemet, notzeh chesed v'alafim, nosei avon v'afesha, v'chata v'nahakeh, v'salach lavonenu chatatenu, unechaltanu, salach l'ravinu kechatanu machalanu malkenu kifashanu, ki atarnai tov v'salach, v'rav chesed l'chol korecha.
Top of page 233.
כפר חטאנו ביום הזה וטהרנו כמו שכתוב כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם וטהרתכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תטהרו הביאנו הר קודשך ושמחנו בבית תפילתך כמו שכתוב כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים.
Someone once said, do not regret growing older. It's a privilege denied to many. Al tashlichenu b'yet zikna. So if we are fortunate to reach old age, may we not be cast out. We rise as the ark is opened. Shema Koleinu.
Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chos v'rachem aleinu v'kabel b'rachamim uvrahatzon et tefilateinu.
Shema Koleinu Eloheinu Chos v'rachem aleinu kabel b'rachamim v'ratzon et tfilateinu.
Hashivenu Adonai Eilecha v'nashova Chadesh Yameinu kekedem Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
Hashivenu Adonai lecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu.
Tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha tikach mimenu.
Al tashlichenu li'et zikna kichlot kochenu al tazvenu.
Al tashlichenu li'et zikna kichlot kochenu
Al tazvenu al tachachimenu.
Yerushalayim v'yavosh
You know what's on your Get Harna Hochanu, Atana Narada Eloheinu.
may be seated.
Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Al Tazvenu, Al Tichenu, Al Tachmenu, Al Tafel, Britcha Itanu, Kor Vekor, Vanu, Elotor Chalam, Denibit Fotecha, Orindorachecha, Hitli Beneli, Rayat Shemecha, Emolava Beneli, Ahvatecha, Menashiv Lecha, Bemelu, Lev Shalem. Lamanshim Chahagadol Tim Chavatislach Lavonenu, Kaka Tibidi Reto Checha, Lamanshim Charanivas Laka Lavoni, Kihirapo. Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Slach Lahanu, Mechal Lahanu, Kapel Lahanu, Ki Anu Amecha, Vyata Eloheinu, Anu Vanecha, Vyata Avinu, Anu Avadecha, Vyata Adonenu, Anu Kahalecha, Vyata Chelkeinu, Anu Nachlatecha, Vyata Goraleinu, Anu tzonnecha v'yata roeinu. Anu karmecha v'yata nodreinu. Anu fulatecha v'yata yodreinu. Anu rayatecha v'yata dodeinu. Anu segulatecha v'yata kroveinu. Anu amecha v'yata malkeinu. Anu ma'amirecha v'yata ma'amireinu. Anu azefanim v'yata rachum v'chanon. Anu k'shei oref v'yata erech apayim. Anu melei b'lavon v'yata malei rachamim. Anu yamiru ketzel over v'yata hushnotecha lo yitamu.
As we approach the next set of confessional prayers, we contemplate which of those things that are mentioned actually apply to us. I'll tell you a story about a man who had not been feeling well, and he went to see his doctor. The doctor asked, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, doctor, lately I've been dizzy and I've been seeing white spots." The doctor examined him and put him through some tests, and several days later he called the man back and said, "I hate to tell you this, but you've got a rare disease and you only have about 6 months to live." So the man quit his job and he set off to travel the world, do all the things he'd always hoped to do. He spent more time with his family. He bought a new sports car. And one day he was driving by this famous clothing shop and decided to go in and get a tailor-made suit. Tailor came in, measured his arm length, 33 inches, waist, 32, halavai. Next, his pant length, 34. Finally, the tailor measured his neck and said, "I'm making you a size 16 and a half shirt." The man said, "That can't be. I wear a 15-inch shirt." The tailor measured his neck again carefully, and he said, "No, sir, you wear a 16 and a half inch shirt." The man was adamant. He said, I've worn a 15-inch shirt my whole adult life. I want you to make me a 15-inch shirt. And the tailor said, "Well, okay, I'll make you a 15-inch shirt, but it's going to be so tight, it'll make you dizzy and you'll start seeing white spots." Sometimes people get so set in their ways and they refuse to change even when they are the ones who are hurting. But if you're willing to change and to make adjustments, many times you will see your white spots disappear. Bottom of page 234.
I da 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 da. Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Tava lefenecha tevilateinu, ve'al titale mivchinateinu, shenadnachnu azei panim ukshei oref lomar lefenecha Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatahanu, avanachnu v'avoteinu, chatahanu.
Please rise, 235.
I da 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 ya da 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 da. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Havinu, Vahirshanu, Zadnu, Chamahasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, I da 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 ya da 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 Yahatznu Ra, Kizavnu, Lahatznu, Maradnu, Niyahatznu, Saraharnu, Avinu, Hashanu, Saraharnu, Kishinu Oref, I da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu. Sarnu mi sadak mi shmot rav tavim lo shavelanu, v'yadas egal kol habalenu, kemerasita v'nakti hirshanu fashan lachem l'noshanu.
May be seated.
Although Henry Beloved is Lachim Lachol Love and Yom Kippurim Azeh, V'chev Haver Pachane V'chatan Emin Neganenecha, V'chav Yisrael L'Hishtabed Lahach, V'chnoar Pen Elashiv Elecha, V'chadesh Kayotenu Lishmo Pukudecha, V'ol Lovenu Li'aval Yirach Shemecha, Kakatuba Toratecha, Mal Anai Lecha Lavavcha, V'lavav Zorecha, V'va Idon Lecha V'cholavach V'chon Avshecha Halamohan Chayecha, Hazan V'ashagaru Tahamakir. Manamor lefanecha Yoshev Marom, Umanesaber lefanecha Shochen Shchakim, Halokon Istarov Yaneglara Tayodea, Shimcha Meolam Over Al Pesha, Shafatenu Tazim Yom lefanecha Bihit Fila, Tavor Al Pesha Yom Shavei Fesha, Himche Pesha Heinu, Minegenecha, Ata Yodea Rose Olam, Vitalim Bod Sitre Kochai, Adachofetz Kochar Revaten, Uvochen Kaleo Valehev, Ein davar nelami mehaka, and he's trying to negate necha. Ubechen yiratzam ofenachon Elohim v'levoteinu, shetislach lanu akol chatoteinu, v'tim chalanu akol avonotenu, utchaper lahanu, akol b'shainu.
Rabbi Beryl Pador of Kansas City writes, "It is not just our words that we speak, but what we think as well, the judgments we make made worse by expressing those thoughts to others in words. In the words of the late Representative John Lewis, we should use our words to be constructive, not destructive. May our words be used to bring about tikkun olam, to heal the world and make it a better place for all." We rise, page 237.
Al chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yones yuvratza. Al chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, v'al chet shekatanu lefanecha v'yodim uv'lo yodim, v'al kulam Elohai selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu, v'al kolam Elohai selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, selach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu, al chet shekatanu lefanecha b'chacha shiv chazav. Al chet shekatanu lefanecha b'einayim ramot, v'al chet shekatanu lefanecha b'azot metzach, v'al kulam Elohai selichot, selach lanu mechal lanu, kaper V'yahal kolam Eloi Salichot Salach lanu Mechal lanu Salach lanu Mechal lanu Kaper lanu Al Chay Shekatan Lefanecha Bifrikado Al Chay Shekatan Lefanecha Al Chay Shekatan Lefanecha Bitzumet Yad V'al Chay Shekatan Lefanecha Batim Hon Levav V'al Kolam Elohai Salichot Salach lanu Mechal lanu Kaper lanu V'al Kolam Eloi Salichot Salach lanu Mechal lanu Salach lanu Mechal lanu Kaper lanu
You may be seated.
V'yal mitzvah aseh, v'yal mitzvah lo ta'aseh, v'yesh bam kum aseh, v'ven she'ein bam kum aseh, v'erageluim lanu, she'enem geluim lanu, erageluim yanu, k'var amarnum lefanecha, v'odinu lecha eleihem, v'yechenam geluim lanu, lefanecha hem geluim v'yiruim, karavar she'nehem mahar, ani strod analai Eloheinu, haniglot lanu, levani lanu lam, kol divrei HaTorah hazor.
Bottom of page 242. Rachamana Da'ane.
Rachamana de'aneh, de'aniyeh aneina. Rachamana de'aneh, l'maki cherucha aneina. Rachamana de'aneh, litvirei liba di'aneh aneina. Rachamana aneina. Rachamana chos, Rachamana peruk, Rachamana shazev, Rachamana rachem alahan, hashta baguzman kari.
Page 243, we rise as the ark is opened. Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu chatar lefanecha, Avinu Malkeinu en lana melech elatah. Avinu Malkeinu, hachazit rei b'tshuva shlema lefanecha.
Malkeinu, Achzireinu b'tshuva shalema lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema l'chol yamecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, shlach refuah shalema l'chol yamecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, zochrenu b'zikaron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, zochrenu b'zikaron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvei b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvei b'sefer geulah v'yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer gula v'yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvei b'sefer parasa v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer parasa v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvei b'sefer zchuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer slicha u'mechila.
Avinu Malkeinu, kadvenu b'sefer zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, hasmach l'ari Yeshua b'karo, Avinu Malkeinu, harim karo.
Avinu Malkeinu, shema koleinu v'surachim koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, aseraman Avinu Hashem Kodesh. Avinu Malkeinu, aseraman bayu v'yeshuva mayim al kiddush shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, aseraman chayim l'olam.
Avinu Malkeinu, aselamancha im l'olam ahaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein Vanu Mahasim. Asay Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed. Asay Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein Banu Mahasim. Asay Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed. Asay Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu.
May be seated. Kaddish Shalom.
Yet Gadol v'yet Kadash Shmei Rabba Ve'olem Madiv Racherutei Ve'yamlich Mahachutei Ve'chayechon u'vyamechon U've'chayedechol Beit Yisrael Bagala u'vizman Kariv Ve'immeru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach Le'olam u'lal me'omaya Yet barach ve'yishtabach V'yet bar ve'yet roman ve'yet naseh V'yet hadar v'yet alev v'yet halal Shemei dekudesha rechu Le'ehela le'ehela Mikol birchata Ve'shirata tushbechata Ve'nechemata Damiran ve'olma ve'imru Amen. Tikabel tzalot uvahud hon, Dechol Yisrael kodam avuhon, Devishma Yahweh imru amen, Yehishlam marabba min shemaya, V'chayim malenu v'yakol Yisrael, V'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'romav, Ho Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Yisrael Ve'immeru Amen.
Amen. We rise for Aleinu 246.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol L'tet gedula le'yotzeh b'reishit Shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot Ve'lo samanu k'mishpachara adama Shelo samcho kenu kahem V'gahor aleinu kechol hamonam V'anachnu korim U'mishtachavim humodim Lifnei melech malchei hamelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki המלכות שלך היא עולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad.
May be seated. We turn to page 248, the 27th Psalm, the Psalm for the season of the days of awe.
לדוד הנוער יבישי ממאירה ארנמל. לולא האמנתי לרבי טובה אדוני בארץ חיים, קווה אל חזק ממך לבך, וקווה אל אדוני.
247, Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalmad Ivra Kirute, V'yamlich Malchute. Chaye Chon, Uv'yomei Chon, Uv'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael. V'agalav V'zman Kariv V'yimeru. Amen.
Amen. Yehesh Rabba Mevarach.
Rabba Mevarach.
Le'olam U'lamei Maya.
Maya.
Yet Barach.
Barach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata damiran b'yoma v'yimiru.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimiru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bim ramah. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael. V'yimeru. Amen.
Amen.
Good Yantif, everyone. This is my 15th Yom Kippur as the rabbi of the Greenfield Chapel. And it's very different from every year before. But the constant is Michael Lewis. And we are so fortunate to have you leading us and to have you preparing everything that needs to be prepared in order to have our festival services. May you continue to lead us for many years yet to come. Yasher Koach for a beautiful service. Tomorrow morning, we begin at 9 o'clock. For those of you looking ahead to Mincha and Ne'ilah, Mincha begins at 5:15. And we wish everyone Gemar Chatima Tova. May you be sealed for a good year at the conclusion of a meaningful fast. We conclude with Adon Olam, page 249.
Adon Olam, Hashem Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Adon Olam, L'yeit Nasa B'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemon Dikra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, L'yeit Nasa B'chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemon Dikra Adon Olam, V'yachare kichlot takol levahado yimloch noradon olam v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yiyeh b'tifara adon olam Hashem malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra l'yeit nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemon nikra adon olam V'hu echad v'yein sheni l'ham shelo l'achbir adon olam V'li reishit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'ham misra adon olam Hashem malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra l'yeit nasa v'chefso kol Azai melech shemon nikra adon olam V'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzorchav li v'yeit tzara adon olam V'hu nisi u'man nosli menat kozi b'yom v'kra adon olam Hashem malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra l'yeit nasa v'chefso kol Azai melech shemon nikra adon olam V'yado avkid ruchi v'yeit ishan v'yahir adon olam V'imruchi geviyati adon ali v'lo ira adon olam Hashem malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra v'yeit nasa v'chefso kol Azai melech shemon nikra Adon Olam.
To all of you, both those of you here in the sanctuary and those participating from home, Shana Tova, a good year and a good Yantif.
Didn't Phil Katz have the first one? Didn't Phil Katz do the first couple of years you were here?
First couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but you are the cusp. I mean, there have been changes.
Yes.
Been changes this year.
We're in a much bigger place this year.
That's correct. With far fewer people.
Yes. Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. Okay, we'll look for you next year.
See you in the morning.
We have Duchening tomorrow morning. Yeah, I got to remember to go get the.
That's not it.
No, that's not it. It's going to be on 356. Yeah. Rooked here.
Page 6,492. That's how it feels sometimes. Supposed to be. Chairman said something to me that there, That's right. Yes. Actually, it's interesting. You know, my daughter's Memphis. They just during the day today. They had a Yesper service. I mean, they didn't come. But they did it before Yom Kippur. You know, Yesper is a relatively late addition. I know. Jack, you know, I have learned not to get upset about what I can't control. There's no hurry. Yes. UOS is having a number of those. Imagine having to do cold Nidre in your backyard. I plan to be here.